you're doing well today. It's nearly quarter to, well, it's actually quarter to 6 on the 22nd of the 3rd, 2020. This one to be about the coronavirus, I suppose, again. Yeah. I watched a video earlier on, I think it was yesterday actually, that was quite good. It's called Coronavirus Stops the World by Geordie podcast. And he was talking about the fact that he had something that was probably that in February. And he was describing it as the worst kind of flu you could have, that was at the worst it could be for a flu, for a solid 14 days. And that's what it was. It wasn't a case where you'd have a couple of days where it's really bad and it'd get a bit better and it's really bad again. It was 14 days straight where it was, really difficult. Where breathing was tricky because every time you tried to breathe, you were nearly coughing. Every time your body was trying to get you to cough, every time you were trying to breathe, so breathing was tricky. It was difficult because you breathe in, you breathe in. Of course, when you're doing that, it means that your body's not retaining the oxygen as it needs to. Your lungs aren't really getting anything out of it. So that's not good. That's probably why people feel so knackered after that 2 weeks. That's probably one of the reasons why. Because obviously, part of the problem I have, I explain my situation for a second. With my nasal problems, I can only mouth breathe. I can't nose breathe at all. So it means that my body doesn't have the degree of oxygen it needs, which is why I get tired. And why I get tired so quickly. So obviously, if you're struggling to breathe, then your body's not retaining. So that's how I know a little bit about that situation anyway. So yeah. However, it's like today. I've had lots of people coming around to see puppies and reserve a pup that'll be leaving in 2 weeks' time, and I plan to come back in 2 weeks' time. I've got no problem with that. Yes, of course, you mix with people, there's a risk of getting this virus. Well, what are you going to do? Become a hermit? Go and buy a shack, a hut somewhere in the middle of the woods and live there. But that's not exactly going to work. It's like I was looking on a map the other day and speaking to a friend and saying, what about Stowaway, which is it's an island right on the northwest of Scotland, but it's quite a bit into the sea. And he said, well, it's on the news the other day that a few people there have got the coronavirus. How the blinking Lord did they get it? When it's somebody who came over to the island who took the virus over there. Lovely. You've got a nice little community and someone comes over and brings a virus with them. Wonderful. Yeah. That's really great, that, isn't it? That's just what you want. You welcome people over and they bring a virus. Yeah, lovely. So, even in the woods, you'd probably not be able to be free from it. So, yeah. In the end, it's what it is. You've got to continue living. It's like my video last night about the church got tested and failed. Well, because it did. In the end, it did. It's a really bad fail, because in cancelling the event that has happened, it was basically like they were saying that God was afraid of the coronavirus. That God told him to cancel because he was afraid of how it would make the church, his church, look. Excuse me? God is afraid of the coronavirus? No. Well, a separate issue, folks. I've had, probably one of the worst, probably 10 hours as a Christian that I've had for a very, 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 very long time. And it all comes down to this driving situation, again, that I've spoken about many, many times. I think I spoke about it in the video the other day, this particular issue, where I was just talking about the situation with God, and then something came into my head that it's been sorted. I'm able to drive now. That was, I think, when I went to bed a few nights ago, and so that would have been, I think, Friday night. And I knew not to trust it. I knew, come on, this is very unlikely. I mean, I checked earlier online to see if there'd been any change, if I'd been allowed to drive yet, and I hadn't. And again, the next morning, the voice, you're allowed to drive now. Check it. You're allowed to drive now. Checked it, still no change. So I'm trying to make excuses for this now. I'm trying to say, well, it could be God, but it could be simply a case where, at the DVLA, they could be a bit inundated. Maybe they just haven't put it through the computer system yet. Maybe they sent me a letter. That letter will arrive in a few days. But officially, what I'm hearing would still be correct. That at that point in time, I was cleared to drive. It's just that I hadn't been notified. So therefore, legally speaking, it would be a risk driving because, if you get pulled over by the authorities, you can't really say, "Oh, but God told me I was clear to drive." You're going to get away with that, are you? So I said, okay. But then, of course, nothing. I mean, it's Sunday today. Friday night, if that was told to me, there was Saturdays, there was one delivery. So Monday, there could be a letter turn up. There could be. In theory, of course, there could be. But today and yesterday, just going to God and saying, Lord, what I don't understand is we hear things that we think are from you. We go to you, we question, we try and test it. You don't come back saying this isn't me. Now, come on. How are we supposed to learn? How are we supposed to be learning to be guided by you or guided by the Holy Spirit when we hear a voice that's nice and clear, that's soft, gentle, it appears to be you, but then the reality is it ain't? Well, it most certainly probably isn't, because of the fact that the evidence suggests that no, what's being said isn't true. So either God's a liar or it wasn't God. And then that's okay. But then tell us it's not you. It's quite simple. Just say that wasn't me. How difficult is that? And it's like it just continues time and time again. You get these sort of things happening. And it's like, well, come on. I mean, I've said to God, I understand. I don't read the Bible in anywhere near the way I should do. My eyes are not quite as good at close distance now, so I need glasses. Got glasses, but they're in a cupboard. I don't like to wear them partly because of the fact I know that when I wear them, my eyes are getting worse the more I wear them. So, although again, is that just me making it up? I don't know. It seems as if it is. It seems that my eyes get worse, as in, I need glasses for longer distances than I used to. I mean, put it this way, I used to need glasses for reading tiny writing. Here, I've got writing on tablets. And I can just about read that if I hold it at near the arm's length. Any closer, can't read it. It used to be the case that I didn't have to hold it at near the arm's length to be able to read it. Anything really, really close, I needed glasses for. I couldn't read it. But it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and getting worse quickly. And it all seems to have corresponded at the time I started wearing these glasses. So I don't really like wearing them. But therefore, reading the New King James Bible that I've had for, I'm pretty sure it's the same one. No, I think this is the second one I've had. So it's going to be at least 15 years old, and it's in really good condition because I hardly ever use it. And it was the case even when my eyesight was better. I've hardly ever used it. Even when, I mean, I could use the excuse that I get tired quickly, and when I'm tired, I can't read. That's true. But that only started, I think, about 15 years ago, I think, that started to get a lot worse. You know, I had an operation on my nose to make things better, and it just made it worse. Um, Again, I mean, this is something else I've said to God about. That surgeon lied um, because he decided before the operation he was not going to do what I consented to doing, which meant that legally speaking, he committed assault on me because he did not get my consent. Even before the operation, I clarified to him that everything was okay for him to do what I consented to do. He said yes. But after the operation, he said he'd changed his mind beforehand, in which case he should have got my consent to do that. But he didn't. Well, when I then said I complained about it, he lied about it and got other people to lie for him. Now, God then says we shouldn't try to hold these people accountable. And my point to God is, what are you going to? It's no good you saying, right, well, when these people die, I will hold them accountable. No wonder people want to hold people accountable because they see nothing happening. Nothing at all. They see people doing bad stuff and they see no consequences at all for those people. None. They just seem to carry on regardless as they are. And we see this time and time and time and time again. It's like, well, okay, Lord, if you're going to fight for us, then fight. If we're not supposed to fight, you have to. Because the problem is, you're saying to people, don't fight. I will fight for you. And then when it comes down to it, you're not doing nothing. You're not fighting. But of course, you know, that is the position. And I said to God, I said, look, I said, it's difficult. It is complicated because most of my friends are such that like normal people, where they say, you know, any good thing comes from God. Yeah, and I say, you know, if there's anything that I say that has any impact in your life, then it's from God. It's not from me. So you glorify God for that, and rightly so. But then, when something bad happens, we say, "Oh, that's either the devil or that's you. That's not God. It can't be God because that's bad." Well, hold it. Look at it in this sense, right? Job was a child of God. Yeah, Job was a child of God. God played a little game with the devil, saying, "You go and do whatever you want to Job, destroy his life completely. That's fine." Now remember, Job is a child of God. God was playing with Job, right? Killed his family. Well, allowed the devil to kill his family. Basically tempted the devil to do that, if the Bible is correct. Now that would be considered, if you put it in the worldly terms, that would be child abuse. Now, most Christians would see that as it was the devil harming Job. Yeah, technically it was the devil harming Job. But what did God do? God said to the devil, go and harm Job. But people won't ever say that God is partly to blame for that. Because God can only be good. I mean, I look at the Job situation and I see that as, well, that's not a good situation because, yeah, God gave him back pretty much more than what was taken. But Job still lost his wife and his children. They died. He didn't get them back, did he? He went through all that pain and agony. So what was worth that? Really, I mean, you look at him before that conversation between God and the devil. Job was going along happily. He was serving God. He was glorifying God. So he was therefore, in a position where he was being blessed by God. Either way. So why did God allow that? I don't know. Why would God take someone who was serving him, basically abuse that person in a massive bloody way through a game with the devil to say, you go and harm my child, yet he won't go against me. Do the worst you can. Excuse me, this is to your child who loves you, and you're saying, do the worst you can. How the bloody hell is that a loving God? I don't get that. I don't get how people cannot look at God and say, well, you do things. You allow stuff to happen. If you're now, I mean, there was a situation, I'm not sure if it still is the case, but there was a situation a few years ago where the law changed a bit, where it said, if you stand by and you watch somebody being harmed, and you have the power to stop it. So say if you're friends, if you're part of a gang and you know that your friends in this gang are going to do something nasty and you don't do anything to stop it, you'll be counted as guilty as they are. So according to that, wouldn't God be as guilty as whoever else was that committed that sin or that harm? I'm not saying we shouldn't be blaming God for all the bad stuff that happens. No. What we should be doing is trying to understand. What we should be doing is saying, okay, if God allowed that to happen, let's not just stop at saying, oh, God might have allowed that to happen. Why? For example, this coronavirus. I look at this situation and I think, is it likely this is purely by accident, this coronavirus? It came out of China. They're saying it came from bat to another creature, something like an anteater, something like that. That's the sort of creature it was. And then was eaten by man, and then it went into man that way. Right? Now, they've been doing this in China probably for at least decades, if not hundreds of years. Storing bats next to these other creatures and then eating the creatures. So why now? Why has it jumped from bat to the creature, then to humans now? That's something that nobody has even tried to explain, as far as I know. Only as far as I don't watch Chinese news or Chinese documentaries or anything like that, or even American stuff or whatever. But as far as I know, there's no answer as to why now. I mean, I look at it from the situation and say, okay, China recently had a law that families can only have one child. Well, that didn't work. The reason why they had that law is because their population was getting too big. So that didn't work. Then they have a virus that kills part of the population. The older people and the people that are a bit more vulnerable. So the people that are more useless to society seem to be the ones that are being wiped out by this virus. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, we don't know. That's the point. God knows, but we don't know. But again, either God is behind the coronavirus by making sure it spreads from bat to other creature than to human, and doing it for a reason, in which case we need to discover the reason, or God has allowed this for a reason, again, we need to discover the reason. And because we know the third option, that God is completely incompetent and didn't see this coming, no, that most likely is not the case, because God is all-knowing, all-seeing, all-aware. So therefore he would have known about this. This is what in Christianity drives me mad. The fact that, God gets all the credit, we or the devil gets all the blame. Sometimes the credit doesn't go to God, it goes to man. And sometimes it should, because sometimes people do drag themselves up by their flipping bootstraps, and so they deserve a bit of credit by that. It's not just God, it is them as well. And sometimes it is a case where you've got to look at God and say, but why did you allow this to happen? It's not a case where you're blaming God, but you need to understand, why did God allow this to happen? If he's trying to teach us something, you've got to learn it. If you don't learn it, you're going to keep on going through this crap. So if he's trying to teach us something, we've got to learn what he's trying to teach us. If there's whatever other reason, we've got to learn that. We've got to understand, so we can then say, right, now, okay, God wants us to do something. Well, let's do that, and maybe that will bloody stop. Maybe we won't have to go through viruses that kill our older generation. I don't know. All I know is that it's not simply a case where man is responsible. And even if man is responsible, God has allowed these things to happen. So why? I've had these conversations with people for years. They come out with this rubbish, and it's the usual crap that people just come out with. It's the throwaway comment. Oh, well, God's allowing this for a reason. Yeah, well, then what bloody reason? Don't just say, well, God's allowing this for a reason. What reason? Don't walk away after saying that. Stay here and help me to understand what the reason might actually be, so I can then do something about it, so it won't have to keep on happening. You're supposed to be a brother stroke sister or whatever of mine, so therefore care for me enough to actually stay with me and help me to deal with this. But no, throwaway comments is what people make. Yeah, as I say, that thing postponed. That 2-meter church, and again saying that God gave the vision of 2 meters. So he didn't. Flipping Nora. No, he did not give that vision of 2 meters. Yeah, God's going to give a vision to people saying, be afraid of one another. Be afraid of this virus. Stay a good distance away from each other. Don't cuddle or hug or do anything like that. Don't touch each other. Oh, no, lurgy. Yeah, God's going to do that. Because God's afraid of this virus, isn't he? What utter and utter and utter and utter rubbish. And I suppose it just coincides with that situation. So yeah, I've had 10 hours of going to God and saying to God, for goodness sake, I just don't understand it. I don't understand how. And it would keep on coming to this point. It's like even the church. I mean, even like if what happened at this filling station a few months ago, where the lady said that God has said he's going to give these people that are in the way of the church a year to get out of the way. You've given them 20 years. They've had 20 years to get out the flipping way. Another year? Why? You're just delaying it all. You're just saying to the people that are struggling, yeah, you can struggle for another year. Yeah, excuse me. No, why the bloody hell should people struggle for another year? So these people that have been in the way for 20 years have another year to get out of the way. Well, excuse me, maybe 20 years ago you should have said, well, I'll give them 20 years to get out of the way. Well, that's up now. Move on. Get them out of the way. Let's have things moving forwards so that the people that are struggling can actually be helped. Let's have God back in the church so people can go and be blessed and go and be cleansed and go and be made to be vessels that God can use to bless the people out there. Instead, what we have is another year of this same BS Christianity where churches fall aside and are led by the world. The world says, don't gather, so the church says, okay, we won't do church. Yeah, come on. You're saying we shouldn't meet to worship God and to spend time with God because of a little virus that may be out there. This is not the Ebola virus, folks. This is a bad flu. It is a bad flu, and of course, if you've got it, it ain't going to be pleasant in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be a pain in the bloody ass. It's going to be difficult, to say the least, for 2 weeks. But it's not going to be hell. It's not going to be 2 weeks of hell. It's not that bad. But yeah, I mean, the chap on the talked about the coronavirus stopping the world. True Geordie. Yeah, he's a big fella. He is a big fella, so therefore he's got a lot of weight for his body to carry, and for him to struggle to breathe, well, likelihood part of that would be because he was a big fella, and he admitted that on the video. He said maybe that's part of the reason why I was struggling to breathe so much. That's possible, and certainly if you are a big, large, obese person, I mean, this bloke isn't that obese, but I'm saying if you're obese, then yeah, you're likely to have a bit more of a problem from this coronavirus. But then again, that's because your body is fighting all the time anyway, so you're giving it something extra to fight. I'm sorry, folks, but I don't make excuses for people to be seriously overweight. You're killing yourself slowly. So the virus comes along to maybe help that to happen. Well, come on, you've been killing yourself anyway, so therefore this is just going to speed it up. You only get the certain sympathy from me in the fact that we all make mistakes, so you're just making mistakes, but you've been making this mistake, you've been slowly committing suicide for the past 20-30 years, and you're now at a point where you are obese. Well, it is a case that, again, the church should be teaching us, and should be teaching people that once you get to a certain age, you can't continue eating the same as you were when you were younger because you're not burning it off at the same rate. You've got to eat less, otherwise you are going to get obese. You are likely to put weight on to the point where it be unhealthy because of the fact you're eating as much now as you did when you were younger, but when you were younger you were burning it off. Well, now you're not. So even someone who was fit when they were young could end up being obese when they're older because they're not taking into account that maybe they're doing this, maybe they don't need to put in as much. And for the people that are obese and have been such children, again, yeah, I'm sorry, folks, but once you become an adult, you decided to continue in that bad habit. That was you. But again, I'm not going to judge you because we all have bad habits that we give into on occasion, that we shouldn't, that we all have to learn from, that we all have to appropriate and deal with in the right manner. We've got to move forwards, and we're not moving forwards right now. And it's not helpful, and we have to acknowledge that, as I say, God allows things to happen that aren't good. And when he does, we've got to hope he's doing it for a reason. Simple as that. But if we're not prepared to work at it and spend time with God to find out the reason, then we might as well just all pack it in. Just stop. What's the point of being a Christian, for goodness sake? It's like I said to God, what's the point of being a Christian if when we pray to you, we hear a voice that isn't you, and you never tell us that it isn't you? So we go believing in stuff that isn't you, or even that, or we stop praying to you, because what's the point in asking you something if we know we're going to get a voice that isn't you? That's what I've been saying to God the last 24 hours. Yeah, if we're praying and what we hear isn't you, and that is commonly the case, then why would we continue to be asking you for guidance if what we're going to get isn't you? Why would we continue praying about things if we're going to get things in our heads that says, oh, it's sorted, it's done? And then we think, is that God? Is that God? You know? And we're asking you for clear guidance on that, and to clear that up. And no, it doesn't appear to be you. It's not helpful. Really, it's not helpful. And it's like, we need God's help. We really do. Because if we're in a mess, we need God's help to stop being in a mess. But it's one of these catch-22, the birds and the egg situations, isn't it, really? You know, we're in that situation where you can't necessarily be guided by God unless you do things in a way that where you can be guided by God, but you can't really do that unless you're guided by God. So it's like, not helpful in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot that isn't good. So but as I say, gotta hope that when the year's up and God says to these people in the way, well done for getting out of the way, or the ones that are still in the way, sorry, I'll give you a chance to get out of the way, you're out of the way now, I'm shifting you, that things will actually improve to a degree that would just be fantastic. Put it this way, while I've just been saying it, I've just been checking online, and it says the Gov UK, view your driving licence information, you do not have any current driving entitlement, in which case it hasn't been sorted. But at least online, it hasn't been sorted. Now, as I say, I could get a letter in the next couple of days to say it's been sorted, you can now drive. Sorry, there's been a problem with doing it online because of staff being sick, and etc. That's quite possible, yes. I mean, I get the impression that the DVLA is going to be closed very, very soon. Because, with this government push to not have any large groups of people gathering, offices are people that work quite close together. Although I still have the belief that if you're not sick, there's no reason why you shouldn't work even in an office environment. So long as you're washing your hands when you make contact with other people. Not just that. I mean, if you open a door that other people may have opened and touch the handle, wash your hands. Because it's possible that somebody may have the virus and not really know it, been touching their face and touch the door handle. So wash your hands, but also wash the door handle. So then, just do that, and then you can keep working. There's no reason why you can't. Generally speaking, these sort of places are cubicles, and so they're not really exactly within contact. But because they're in a building, I suppose they're thinking germs can be floating around. Yeah, they can be. But generally speaking, this isn't one that you can catch just by floating around in the air, as far as we know. So until we know differently, I don't see the problem with people working. And I don't see why the government is panicking to that large degree. Although they're now talking, I saw something earlier talking about the fact that if people don't isolate themselves when they've been told to by the government, that they may use the police or the army to enforce that. So really what they're talking about is possible lockdown. And I was asked that by somebody the other day who yesterday who came out to see the pup, and they said, what happens if there is a lockdown? Well, I seriously doubt there will be. I don't think there will be in the next couple of weeks. That's what I said to the person. I said the government has made the decisions it's made, which is really a bit of an overreaction, because they're just trying to make sure that the NHS isn't overwhelmed. So they've got enough ventilators for the people. And if the NHS isn't overwhelmed, they have no reason to overreact again. So there you go. It is what it is. So I said this was coronavirus related. Not really though, is it? No. I think it's not really going to be related to coronavirus, the title of this one. Although it is coronavirus related, because obviously if coronavirus hadn't hit, then I wouldn't be so frustrated about my driving license situation, so I wouldn't have gone to God so much about that. Therefore, the thing I heard wouldn't have been an issue, because I'd probably have had my license back by now, or would be believing I would be having it back within the next few weeks anyway. Whereas now it's a case that it could take as long as, as I said to a friend, it could be a case where by the time the DVLA people go back to work, they'll be inundated with reports coming in from the people that they've banned or revoked their licenses of, since mine was. In which case I'll have to probably do another report that will have to be sent in. But the DVLA are going to be a few months behind anyway. So if it takes a few months for them to get back, like we looked at the other day, and there are some people that have been told they're going to start work for 12 weeks. That's 3 months. So if that's 3 months for the DVLA as well, you're looking at maybe 5 months before it'd be worth me doing another report anyway. Because if they're inundated or right backed up from the stuff they've missed because they were out of work and all that stuff that's come in, they could take an extra month or so to deal with that. In which case, there's no point me doing another report until after that. So looking at 6 months before, and that's why it's so frustrating, because it could have been dealt with easily beforehand. Whether I see it as a GP mistake or whether I see it as God, I don't know. Certainly God allowed it. So I think God is responsible as much as anyone is. Which is difficult, because you pray to God, and really you're praying to a God that you blame for a situation, really, or at least partly blame. And that's difficult, because God is never going to come and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me for what I did against you. That's never going to happen. And so, now, I can't see how God isn't partly responsible, but as I say, you got the situation where the GP is sitting there with the form. He's got one bit on the form that says, has this condition, is it under control? Right? Tick the box and just write yes or no. Yes, it's under control. The person has been managing it for such and such amount of years, or no, I don't think it is under control, blah, blah, blah. He left it. Now, so it's either he wasn't going to do it anyway, in which case God could have pointed it out to him and say, oh, you need to do that bit as well, which God didn't do. Or it's even worse, a case where the GP was going to do that bit and then someone came in and distracted him, in which case did God send someone in to distract him? This is the thing, I don't know, but you get all this going through your mind, and it's like, well, yeah, it's possible, of course it is. So it makes it difficult, because you've got this thing against God now, and all the while this situation is as it is, you've got this thing against God, and it's not easy. It doesn't make your relationship with him easy to manage, because it's like, well, when I do something against God, I repent. and I ask for forgiveness. When God does something against me, he's doing it for a reason. Took me to learn, even though he's never going to tell me what that flipping reason is. At some point, I've got to figure it out. Or it just come to me maybe years down the line. It just come to me, oh, that's what that was about. Great. 10 years later, fantastic. I've been going through this for 10 years. Now suddenly it's come to me. Fantastic. It would have been better if it had come to me 10 years ago. But it's like, what the reason is, I don't know. I have no idea at all. I mean, I was saying to God, and I was wondering that maybe it might be because of the fact that I can get annoyed with the other drivers, but I'm not the only one. I think most people are doing that right now, especially with this panic buying. You try and go into a car park at a shopping centre and somebody pulls in. A bit of road rage hits most people, doesn't it? Really. So, and it's something which, if that's an issue, that can be dealt with anyway while I'm driving. It normally was, because even when I've been a bit annoyed with someone, within a few seconds, I've calmed right down and I've repented of it. I've realised that, okay, that was out of order. I shouldn't have done it. So I've known it's an issue, so I can't see it being that. So I can't see it being the reason that God has allowed that to happen because of something to do with, my driving the way I was when I was driving. I can't see that in any way, shape, or form. So, but what the reason is, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe it's to protect me in some way, but then again, how? Just let me know. Because if, as I said to God, if you're trying to protect me, if you let me know how, then I can say, well, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. I understand now. I know now. I'm not concerned about the driving license situation now, because I know it's to protect me. So instead of being annoyed about that, annoyed with you, I'm now thanking you because I know you're doing this for me. But then when you get nothing, it's like, well, what the heck is going on? It's frustrating, and that's the thing. When you're in that situation where you want Christianity to move forward, you want the church to move forward, you want your life to move forward, you want to get out of the place you're in, but you know that maybe you're in this place you're in because of the negativity of the depression and stuff like that. And it's okay, let's deal with that then. Let's deal with that depression. And it's like, you just want to move forwards, but you need to know, what's causing the blockage, what's blocking that. Because if I can get the blockage out of the way, then I can start moving forwards. Help me to learn, Lord. Teach me what's going on. Help me to get rid of the things that are getting in the way. Instead of allowing these things to keep on getting in the way, help me to deal with them so they're not in the way anymore. That's what I was saying earlier about the fact that I don't read the Bible and stuff like that. And praise and worship is tricky because certainly if I start singing along to songs, the dogs jump up and they get all excited. They think it might be playtime and time to dance, because I've danced with dogs sometimes when I've had music on. So they get all excited with that, which is not helpful. You start getting into worship, and then the dogs get overly excited. They think it's playtime or anything like that. They jump up, and then the moment's gone. They start barking, and of course you've got to say, you've got to focus on telling them to stop barking, because you don't want the neighbours to start complaining, because if they do that, you have the local council coming out and all that rubbish. And that's not good. You don't want to be an annoyance to your neighbours necessarily. And as I said, I can't make the excuse that if I was in the car, but it's like, even in the past, if I needed to do some praise and worship, sometimes I take the headphones, take a walk down the shop. Well, at the moment, we're supposed to be sort of self-isolating, so we're not really supposed to be going out anyway. Plus, it's winter. So last night, I was going to go down the shop last night. I got a few yards down the road, and if sod that, it was freezing cold. and windy, so I'm going home. That's it. That's way too cold. I'm not going downtown like that, because there's a bit as you walk down the road where you've got the wind cutting right across you, and there's hardly anything stopping the wind from coming at you, and that is really cold. So it's like, no, don't fancy that at all. I wasn't really dressed for it, so right, that's it. I'm not doing that. And as I said, I can't make the excuse. If I have my car, I'll be going out in the car, and I'll be praying praise and worship, because generally speaking, sorry, I just realised something. I was going to say, generally speaking, I've not done that, but I've not really been able to do it apart from since October. And actually, I have done a lot of driving on my own since October. I've not actually been driving with a lot of praise and worship. When I've been going to the meetings, to the filling station meetings, I've had praise and worship playing, because that's preparing to meet with God. So I've done that. But I haven't done it normally when I've been driving my car, like to the shops or stuff like that. Well, that's because of the fact that to do that, I've got to take, because rather than just put one CD in, I've got the playlist on my phone. So I've got a messages playlist, which is the Christian messaging, the songs, Christian songs that have a good message. So I have that playing through, but I've got to have a device to connect to the Bluetooth, even though the car's supposed to have Bluetooth, but it doesn't work with the phone for some stupid reason. I've no idea why. It just doesn't work with the phone. The Bluetooth just won't connect. No idea why. It's weird. If it did work, that'd be better, but I've got a device that works. It connects to a radio station, and you have all your music playing through your phone through that radio station. And it's great. But it means you've got to take the phone with you. Now, if you just pop down the shops, it's a bit of a pain in the arse taking your phone with you, because you don't want to leave it in the car, because that's tempting for people to then break into your car to steal the phone. You don't really want to take it around the shop with you, because again, you've got to remember to take it from where it is in the car. I've got this neck strap connected to the phone, so you put it around your neck and going. Well, you don't really want to keep on having to remember that every time. You just want to get into the shop, get your stuff, go. So that's why I don't do it that way. And I don't do much other driving at the moment. I've done other bits of driving when I have taken the car out. Like when I got this car, I did drive to the place where the filling station is, just so I can put it into the sat nav of that car, so I could find it easy enough. And I think I did take my phone with me, and I did play the praise and worship on that occasion. But I've not been doing a lot of driving. But as I say, I've only been able to drive on my own without someone else in the car since October of 2019. So it's not exactly a long time. You're looking at 5 months, just over 5 months. So yeah, I've not done a lot of that. So I can't say I have, because I haven't. But that was my intention, to do that. To maybe have a chance to do more of that. And certainly in the wintry months, it would have been quite possible. Even taking the dogs for a ride. But even that's a problem, taking them. 2 of my dogs tend to puke in the car, which is a bit of a pain if I take them all in the back of the car and then one of them pukes, or 2 of them pukes. If they go on a long journey, they tend to be sick, which is a problem. This video is going on a bit. I'm sorry about that, folks. It has gone on quite a lot. 48 minutes. Jesus, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to go on for that long. So I'll have to end this here. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I need to talk about. It's a frustrating time. So I mean, that's what I'm going to just call this. Christianity, a frustrating time. I think that's fine for this video. That's a pretty apt title. Right. Well, you have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend, or the rest of it, because it is just a few hours left. I pray you'll be well and safe. And if you get the virus, it won't be severe. And if it is, that you'll be in a position where you can get to the hospital to get assisted where you need to. Speak to you soon. God bless you.